Welcome to many a day. We're working on our beachside bungalow with a Hawaiian theme. Today I thought we would make a soap dispenser for the kitchen sink. We need to make sure our hands are washed after we've been gardening and before we cook. Just going to show you the supplies. And today we're going to be went shopping in my husband's garage thanks to his help and guidance. This is an anchor that you put in the wall to put a screw in. And this is an electrical wire. It's got a coating on the outside. And we're going to use some of his tools to cut the wire. Oops, sorry about that. And then a pair of pliers. Then, because this is a hard plastic, we're going to use a file, hopefully you can see it, and cut. Let me see if I can do it this way for you. We're going to be cutting it this way. We'll show you that in a few minutes. Then, again, as I've done before, this is all new. It's an experiment. We're going to try to use all-purpose glue, and I have a toothpick, torn up piece of paper towel to clean up, and also an emery board to use as my sandpaper. All right, so we'll get started. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is take the file and cut off just the end flat piece of this wall anchor. So I'm going to attempt it. So it's a nice thin file. This is actually a blade from a hacksaw. I'll give you an idea of how thin it is. So you're just going to basically trim it. And it's pretty easy. And you're not going to hurt yourself if you're working with your children. The blade is on the other side, so just use some care and guidance if you're going to have your children participate. Again, that's what we're all about, is what can we do to challenge ourselves to make things miniature and repurpose some of the things we actually have around our home, or inexpensive items that we can purchase to make it economical. It's not about spending a lot of money. It's about creativity and having a great product. And I'm going to rotate this so I can get the other side. And if it's not perfect, it's okay. It's not about being perfect. It's something I've had to learn over the years. My grandchildren remind me that all the time. We're human. We're not going to be perfect. Okay, now I have a little bit here. Yeah, just a little snag. And I don't want to tear it because I'd like a cleaner cut. Okay, so I don't know if you can see this. It's a little jagged there. We'll take the emery board, and if you had sandpaper, that works as well. I like to have a little container to put things in just so that it tries to keep the workspace neat. And I'm just going to sand it off. Try it this way, but it won't work. My fingers won't make that work. You have other items around the house you could try. This is just something we were trying to be inventive. We had tweezers, you could clean up a little bit there. Okay. So then we're going to take this wire and cut it and bend it so it will look like a soap dispenser. Okay, so now we're going to look at what size we need, and remember, we're trying to keep things proportional. So if you look at the faucet on your sink, look at how big you want the soap dispenser. So what we did is we looked at our actual real kitchen sink and then try to get an idea, and it's about 1/3 the size of the kitchen sink. So by guesstimation, we figured it's probably about 5/16. So I don't know if you can see this, but we just put a little mark with a Sharpie. Pen doesn't work, pencil doesn't work. So got that. I just wanted to show you that. Now this is actually called a wire stripper, and I've never used one, so we're going to try. We're going to put it in the largest hole first, and my technical advisor guided me on how to cut it. So take it, put where your mark is, and you're going to just hold it, and you're going to twist the bottom. And if it's not working, then you go to the next smaller hole. And it doesn't look like it's doing much, so we're going to try the next smaller hole. Could always just take a knife and cut it too, but we're trying to pull the casing off. I got it stuck, hold on. There we are. Helps if you have a little strength, which unfortunately I do not. It's starting to cut it a little bit. Just keep working it. And you try to pull the casing just like that. That's exciting. All right. All right, so now we have stripped the wire off the end. This is going to be your handle, your pump for your soap dispenser. So we marked it again 5/16 with the permanent marker, approximately from the edge. So the first thing we're going to do is actually make the pump handle. So you take your pliers, go about here, and then you're just going to bend it. Take a look and see if that's what you want. Do a little more. So that's gives you a nice look for a handle, and then we'll paint that later. So we'll move the pliers over. Now, with this stripper, I showed you before, we put it in this 10, and then we went to the 12. When you're going to actually cut it, which is what we want, one even cut, and I'm going to attempt it. And you're going to put it right on. I'm going to put it right on here. Sorry, I've never done this before, so I'm trying to learn. And you want to keep it right on that line and make sure it's straight. So take a look and see if it's straight. And then, it still looks a little crooked. I'm going to cut it. And I'll put my hand over it just in case it flies, which it did, which is okay. All right, so then I save things, as you've probably figured out, so I'll put that away so I can use it again. Do not need this anymore, but I might find some purpose for it. And then, so now you have this. And if you look at the little ring, oh, the other thing I was gonna tell you, you could use like a hole punch to make a ring, and we could use cardstock. So that's an idea for you too. So you notice the ring is too big, but that's all right. So then we take paper towel and cut approximately 5/16 or less. Just kidding, 2/16. I got 5/16 on the brain. So basically cut a long strip, and straight is always best. So if you're not good at cutting straight, ask for a friend to help you. Now the piece that we're saving is a good guide because it gives you a little more room to hold. And then what you want to do is wrap it tightly. Again, this is just a paper towel. Wrap it tightly, wrap it around. And when you get through, again, if you got other ideas at work, I was thinking maybe you could take the end of a Q-tip because you're going to paint it. So now you have this, and what you want to do is grab your handy glue, put just a little tiny bit on a toothpick, lay that down, and you're going to put this, you can see, right here. Okay. So you have a little wrap. The other thing you should do, I forgot to say it, is make sure it's going to fit, because that will become your base. So once it dries, I have an example here that's much neater. I don't know if you can see that. It's going to fit the end here very nicely. And then it's going to fit inside. And if it goes through, you want it to go through a little because you're going to glue it. What you want to do is trim the end off. Your scissors, just trim it like so. And glue it, let it dry, let it sit for a little bit, and then come back, and then we'll paint it. So this is what it's going to look like. You want it to be flat, and if it's not, then you need to make sure it's flat, because the purpose is to have it sit by the kitchen sink, and that's where we have to trim that edge. Let me try one more time to show you. And okay. So once it's glued, it'll look like that. Okay, we'll be back in a minute to show you the finished product. All right, so what we have here is the paper that we rolled up and glued on one end. And what we're going to do is glue it to the electrical wire. That's going to be the base of your soap pump, and it will attach to that flat ring that we cut out of the anchor. So basically showing you how you just fit it in. Check it out before you glue it. I just want to give you some views of that. It's small, and my technical advisor is helping me with putting this part together. And there's your ring. And again, if you wanted to use a hole punch and create a ring, you could, or if you have something else that works, just all sorts of brads, whatever. I mean, you come up, washer would work too. So there are different things you can use. You don't have to use what we used. So basically we're checking to make sure the fit is right. And then the next step is to glue it. And we'll walk you through that in just a second. We double check and triple check sometimes, because once you glue it, if you make a mistake, then you start all over. So it's worth taking a moment to make sure you have everything the way you want it. And again, if we had a bigger wire, we wouldn't even have to wrap this. So the next step is to take glue. I use a toothpick, put it on, glue inside that the paper to the wire, and then you're going to glue it to the disc. So as you can see here, it just takes a little bit of the glue on the end of a toothpick. It's what we use. And just glue it around until you feel you have a good seal. And take your time. All you need is a little bit of glue. Don't need a lot. And check it out. Make sure it's as flat as you want. We put it between the pliers, the other end of it, to let it dry. We let it go 24 hours. And here you have the soap dispenser. Tried to glue it with super glue, didn't work. Ended up using the hot setting of hot glue, and it worked perfectly. So it just depends on what you have to glue it to. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you'll come back. Thank you.